Welcome to this episode of Finish the Damn Book. I'm your host, Susie Schaeffer. My guest today is Sunny Weber, who has over 30 years in animal welfare and advocacy, with experience in rescue, fostering, medical care, service and dog and therapy dog evaluation and training, shelter and sanctuary work, and specializes in the rehabilitation of fearful animals. Sunny has rehabilitated and rehomed hundreds of dogs, cats, and horses. Sunny's Pups and Purrs children's book series addresses the importance of teaching humane education through storytelling. Each dog protagonist narrates in the first pup or person and instills empathy in young people to help them see the world through their pet's eyes. She advocates for the education of children to avoid the link, animal abuse that escalates to violence against people. Sunny's Pups and Purrs adult nonfiction books fulfill her mission to save more dog lives by educating the people who care for them. They provide common sense relationship building between people and dogs that not only saves dogs, but enriches the lives they share. In addition, Sunny currently works with the Colorado Pet Pantry in the development department, designing programs for outreach, education, and fundraising, and is on the board of directors of Black Ops Rescue, where she consults on matches between rescued pets and military veterans. As a professional humane educator, Sunny also serves as a state parks naturalist with a special emphasis on urban cohabitation with coyotes and other indigenous wildlife, and lives in Colorado. Her yard is a certified backyard habitat for birds, squirrels, rabbits, pollinators, and any other creature with fur or feathers who wanders in. Welcome, Sunny.
Thank you very much, Susie. It's great to be here.
You've written and published multiple books. What was your experience like when you published your first book?
My first book was The Dog at the Gate, How a Throwaway Dog Becomes Special. It's a middle grade fiction book. When I was about halfway through with the first draft, I sustained a serious head injury in a car accident and became unable to spell, to think, to punctuate. I didn't know who I was for like 5 years, so I had to just stop working on writing, on training service dogs, which I was doing at the time. But through all that experience, as I was beginning to heal, I had been basically found myself on the primitive level of emotions. I'd never been an emotional person, rarely ever cried, didn't have extreme emotions of any kind because I learned to control them. But after the head injury, I had no control. One of the major fears was the limbic reaction of fear. And as I was trying to struggle with that, I felt that I was beginning to see the world through dogs' eyes, in the sense that so many of them don't have the cognitive reasoning ability of the human brain. They live experientially. And so when I was working with sheltered pets, which I did for many, many, many years, as well as rescues, I just found that trying to explain to them why they didn't need to be afraid of this or that wasn't really working on the human level. So when I was on this limbic fear reaction level, where my own brain was damaged, I began to see the world the way they saw it. And I came out of that thinking, I get it. And as I healed, I thought, this is my new mission. I am going to try to help save the most euthanized dog personality in any shelter or rescue, and that is the fearful personality. And so I ended up writing my very first book, which was Beyond Flight or Flight, a compassionate guide for working with fearful dogs. And it became a bestseller. And that gave me the confidence and the experience to go back to Dog at the Gate and finish it as well.
I love that. And it's so interesting to hear that you actually turned your trauma into some kind of triumph in creating this mission, this movement for helping the fearful dog.
Right. And I think that most experiences that we do go through, you can either sink or swim. And if you can learn from it, then learn from it. And what is that experience going to teach you? And how can you come out the other end and benefit others from what you've learned and what you've survived?
Regarding your author journey, did you have any aha moments along the way, things that just kind of jumped out at you and you said, "Oh, I get it."
Yes, actually I did. When I was writing Dog at the Gate, when it was ready to go, before it was ready to go, actually, I was taking tons and tons of classes to try and polish my writing craft. And I was learning how to pitch. I was learning how to design query letters. Because back then you would go to the large houses and you would try to get a hold of an editor. And then, of course, as the years went by, it was the agents you had to get to pitch you to the editor. And so I was learning how to do all this. And at one writing conference I went to, I was absolutely thrilled when I pitched to an editor from a large New York house. And they said they wanted my book, The Dog at the Gate. And so I sent them the manuscript, understanding that it needed work, and I was willing to work with their people on that. They sat on it for 9 months. I didn't hear a word from them. Now, when you submit to a major house like that, you are not allowed to market anywhere else. You're not allowed to try to find anyone else to help you or to publish it. You just have to sit there. And I sat and I sat and I sat. And finally, after 9 months, I was gotten a hold of by someone completely different than the person that actually wanted my book, and said that that person, that editor, and her boss in this major business shakeup, which happens all the time with these big houses, they were fired. And the new people that took their places weren't interested. So I lost 9 months of that. So I thought, I think what I'm going to try to do is find someone to represent me like an agent. And as I started working with agents, and now I guess there's people that you have to pitch, so they pitch to agents for you. It's a whole new world out there, and it gets more and more difficult. But unless you are a movie star or a social media personality with over 100,000 followers on social media, which of course I don't want, and I don't have. If you're a politician, a sports figure, some big name that they know they can automatically make money on you, they don't want you. I was finally told I'm too niche. I write about dogs. And so I should self-publish. Well, self-publishing was a very new phenomenon at that time. So I joined the Colorado Publishers Association and started studying that and working with craftspeople in all the different areas. Now, there's a lot of people out there that don't write, but they love to cover design. They love to design interior. They love to edit. And so there's a lot of people out there that will help you. So I started my own publishing company called Pups Purrs Press. And I gathered a team of pros and went ahead and put my books out and did my own marketing, which you have to do anyway, even if you're with a big house. And I thought, okay, I might as well do this for me, right? So I got my team together. We published the books and I marketed myself, and I continue to do so. And they've all gone on to be award-winning books. They've all placed extremely high in the Amazon sales rankings. Everything's on my website of all the awards they've won. And I've gotten endorsements from some of the top animal welfare advocates and professionals in our field that I am just thrilled to have.
That's amazing. And that was going to be my next question was, since you've published your books, what types of feedback are you getting? What types of results are you seeing? How has this impacted your life?
Oh, well, it's made my life worthwhile. Number one, most authors never sell more, even if you go through a big house. The studies show most authors never sell more than 2,000 books in their lifetime. And, if you're going to be on the New York Times bestseller list, you're like an outlier. I mean, you got to have the right connections. You got to have a big name to begin with. I've read a lot of books that people have written who have been supposedly on the New York Times bestseller list or gotten published because they already had a name in another field, or they, like, for example, they were a journalist and they wrote a fiction book, so they automatically got published because they had a name. And I read those books and some of them are terrible. And, there's a lot of self-published books out there that are excellent, very well done, if you get the right team to help you polish it. And so what I found when I self-published was I called the shots. Now I have a background in business, so I understand this is a business and I handled it as a business. I developed a very strong platform. And my entire goal throughout has never been to make money. You are not going to make money unless you already have money, like you're a movie star. So you write a book about your life and everybody buys it. But you are not going to make a lot of money on your books. You have to have another reason to do it. And my mission has been to save more dog lives by helping the people who care for them. And so it has changed my life enormously because I can reach audiences that I couldn't reach in my own little home market here. Now, in the Denver metro area, I'm fairly well known in the animal welfare industry. I've been here 35 years professionally. I've lived here all my life, which I won't tell you how many years that is. But it gave meaning to my life. I can teach. I can take what's in my head. Now, I've worked with shelters, rescues, sanctuaries, and a lot of animal caregiving it gets beyond you past a certain age. It's very physical. It's hard to do. But I have all this stuff in my head that I can help up and coming animal welfare advocates learn from what I've learned from. Because when I started in animal welfare, we were doing it in our backyards. We didn't have big shelters. We didn't have all these new professions that have come up. You know, when I was coming out of school, high school, I wanted to be a veterinarian. Well, they weren't letting girls in vet school unless you had extremely good grades and a lot of money, neither of which I had. And so my wish of becoming the top tier animal caregiver, which would be a veterinarian, it was unattainable. So instead I went into business, and I'm glad I did. But then when I finally got myself established financially, I turned to what is typically called a hobby area, which is animal welfare. And I went back into that. To see the growth in this industry over the last 35 years has been phenomenal. And to see all the young people coming into the fields and all the new professions and certifications and college degrees and stuff that there never used to be. It is fantastic to see. And so for me to be able to save more dogs, educate more people, and with my children's books to influence more children into becoming more altruistic and more compassionate and respectful of fellow creatures on the planet, those are my goals. And writing these books gives me that platform.
Absolutely. Sunny, can you describe the types of services that you currently offer and really how you show up in the world to work in the animal welfare industry?
Well, currently, I've always worked with shelters, rescues, and sanctuaries, and there are 3 different forms that you work with. A rescue is a small group of volunteers. They don't have a building. Most of the animals they take in are home fostered. They're always scrambling for money, but they can be specialists. Like there are bird rescues, there are dog rescues, and within dog rescuing, you have breed rescues. I was one of the founders and the foster home of Colorado Australian Shepherd Rescue for many years. And so you have the rescue end of it. Then you have the shelter end of it. And we're really lucky here in the Denver metro area. We have tons of shelters. They're large, they're forward thinking, they all network with each other. There's some fantastic programs. There's a lot of money involved. But there's a lot of power in a shelter operation because they have their own buildings. They work on obviously donations, but they also have a board of directors, and they have various departments. One of which I got really involved with that I really enjoyed was working down at the Capitol, getting animal welfare legislation passed. I really enjoyed that end of it, as well as cleaning kennels and washing dishes, So to work in all those areas. But now what I'm currently doing is working with nonprofits and consulting with people and their pets when they have so-called problem behaviors, and writing the books. I consult with adopters, sanctuaries, and that's the final group is a sanctuary is the most expensive organization to run because they take in animals and they never turn them away and they keep them for life. Now they hope to adopt out some, but they don't necessarily do that like rescues and shelters do. They will keep an animal, particularly if it's been rejected for many, many reasons, and they'll keep it for the rest of its life, which gets very expensive. So there's shelters, rescues, and sanctuaries, and I've consulted with all of them. And I continue to do that. I try to continue to teach on whatever level I can, all the stuff that I have learned. And I also love to network professional to professional. As you know, there are people out there that don't know other people. And so to connect them and you fill in the gaps, like in the Denver metro area, we're extremely fortunate because all of our people connect with each other and communicate with each other. And it's really fun because all of our organizations are cooperative with each other and help each other. You know, say someone brings in a guinea pig to a dog and cat shelter, they'll call a Cavy Rescue, and Cavy Rescue comes over and gets them. So it's really been fun in that regard.
It's so nice that the dogs joined us on this podcast.
I'm so sorry about this. Somebody rang my doorbell and I have no idea who's here or why they're here.
I love it. It's because, you know, we're talking about dogs and they're in the background. So,
well, that's one of the things I still do is I board special needs dogs and cats. So I redecorated my house. All the upstairs bedrooms, cat rooms, and the downstairs is the dog area.
Sunny, you're very intuitive, and I can tell that you've used your intuition many times in publishing all these books that you've done. Can you tell me about a time that maybe you didn't use your intuition and what was the result?
Yes. When I was trying to get Dog at the Gate published at the beginning, you know, I really felt that I was a neophyte professional writer, and I was open to learning. As I said, I was taking many, many classes to develop my craft of writing because I wanted to have a polished product to go out. I didn't want people to say, oh, this is an amateurish book and not have it make a splash somewhere or make a difference in dog lives. So I was taking lots of classes. I was learning I was going to a lot of writing conferences. I was pitching to a lot of editors, a lot of agents. And I worked with a lot of professional writing coaches. And what I found was that everybody has their own vision of what you should be. And the final straw was after a lot of struggle, a lot of confusion, a lot of insecurity. I had someone working with me who completely changed the book, changed the characters, changed the formulation, said I should end it this way, not that way, all these things that I had to step back and say, my first book, The Dog at the Gate, was about dogs that I owned, that I lived with. And it's like, I knew their personalities inside and out. I knew their voices. And I thought, no, I can't go there. And the next editor I got, I said, okay, this book is done. If you want to improve it as it is, great. But the voices are there. The ending's the way it's going to be. The story arcs are what they're going to be. If you can improve it, fine. And I'm always willing to learn how to become a better writer. But this is the story. And so after years of being wobbly on following my own intuition, I thought, nope, I'm sticking to the game.
I love that.
It became a bestseller. It's a very, very popular book.
I love that. That is so cool. Okay, so you know that I love to pull cards. That I'm an intuitive channel. What do you say we pull 3 cards for our listeners to see what they want to know? And do you have a topic, or do you want to pose a question?
No, I'm going to see where you want to go.
Okay, let's just see what the universe wants for our listeners to know based on our conversation today. Let's just see what comes out. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay. First card out. It's a 12 card. So 12, 1 + 2 reduces to a 3. 3 is the beginnings of of cycles, but also 3 is the number of the teacher. So I like that because you very much represent that teaching spirit, right? And the card is a change in the wind, and it's got a zebra on here with a gazebo on top, and the woman in this tower, she's facing on the north. There's a weather pane or weather vane on top of the little gazebo here, and she's facing into the wind. She's saying, whatever challenges come my way, I'm going to face it. I'm going to face it head on. So it's saying, take on those challenges, those changes in life. And even with your animals, take on the changes in their lives too, and face it head on. Don't sweep it under the rug, because that's not going to help the situation. Right.
Right.
Okay. The next card is a 24. So 2 + 4 is 6. 6 is the number of the vibration of love. And this card is time for a nap. And you can see that there's a little fox sitting inside the crook of the new moon. So this really tells me that as we're currently in between 2 new moons as we record this, that are both in Virgo. The new moon last month was Virgo in 0 degrees, and the new moon coming up is Virgo at the 29th degree, meaning that that's an ending. We're starting a new cycle. So what this says to me is that in the energy of the new moon that's coming up, be like the fox. Take a nap when you're tired. Read the energy and be strategic and sly with the way you actually do your life. It is supported by our angels and guides that we kind of operate that way. So I like that. I think that's really cool. Yeah. And then the last card is a 5. So 5s are all about change. And this is saying this card is orphaned. So I'm definitely getting dog vibes here because of animal rescue that we just spoke about. So if you have an animal that was an orphaned animal, just understand that animal is going to need some extra love and maybe some extra attention and maybe some guidance, because they're holding on to those wounds. So many of us as humans feel this way too. We have been orphaned in our lives in some way. So it's saying, don't feel alone. Just seek help where you need some help, and don't forget to take a nap when you're tired. Like, take a nap, seek help, and face your challenges. I really like that. Those are good.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, Sunny, how can people find you? And do you have any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
You can find me at my website, www.sunny, S-U-N-N-Y, Weber, WEBER.com. And you can find me on Amazon. You can either Google my name for my author page, or you can go directly to each one of the book's titles. If you want to go to my website first, I have every book laid out, a synopsis of each one, particularly with the middle grade fiction books. I have broken it down into each one of those books has a series of messages and themes for the young readers, because the dog protagonists in those middle grade books, they're coming of age stories. And so each dog in each one of those books are freestanding stories. You don't have to read them in any particular order, but each one of those protagonists faces certain challenges and learns certain messages, and there's themes, and you can go there and see what each one of those books is addressing through the stories, because the dogs each face what kids face in coming of age: rejection, bullying, search for self. And each one of those dogs has to grow up. What kind of adult dog does he choose to be, he or she? What decisions do they have to make? How do they go about accomplishing their goals? So it teaches kids how to make goals, set goals, and also to realize that they have other options besides what they're immediately seeing, that in the future there may be more options. And a lot of kids will identify with a dog character. Counselors like these books a lot, because I have a discussion guide on my website as well for teachers, parents, and counselors, and humane educators. The dog went through this. How would you have handled that situation? And so, it's a much more complicated theme of education than they're not just dog stories. They are stories, but they're also written to be beginning chapter books. They're illustrated by a great illustrator. And then the print is larger because some of the kids that are transferring from picture books get intimidated by too much print on a page. So I made print larger and there's not so much there. So they can read the books. The stories are engrossing, they're entertaining, they have a lot of drama. But spoiler alert, I insist on every one of my books ending happily.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Sunny. This has been really educational, and I encourage my listeners to reach out to Sunny, check out her books for all ages. I think it's fantastic that you have multiple series. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you. And I just want to mention too, my 6th book will be coming out at the end of this year. And it's going to be a memoir. It's a different genre than what I've done before. And it's a memoir of my 35 years in animal welfare and my partnership with one very special little dog who was with me for many years, told through the stories of the animals that I've worked with.
I love that. That's beautiful. Well, congratulations on all your books and your success, and I'm sure we'll chat soon.
Okay, thanks, Susie.
And if you found this interesting, I encourage you to join me for the next episode. And be sure to subscribe every week. One lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will be entered into a drawing for the grand prize, a private VIP day with me, valued at $25,000. So be sure to subscribe and post a review. Until then, keep on writing so you can finish the damn book. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Sunny.